Like,
Well,
you
I
know,
think the real comparison, I think, is Steven Jackson. You see some of those old St. Louis fans talk about what would Steven Jackson look like under Sean McVay, under this current offense with this offensive line. I think that's where you really, um, I mean, I think Steven Jackson may have been, part of this group in just 10 years out of his time.
I like that. But I guess really, how I look at it is you have your Saquon Barkley's now coming in the league. You have Ezekiel Elliott, David Johnson. I think more and more you're going to see those big backs be able to do it all. And that's why if I had to choose Todd Gurley or Aaron Donald, I mean, Aaron Donald is going to end up the best defensive player of all time, in my opinion, as long as he stays healthy. I can't say Todd Gurley would end up being the greatest offensive player because Barry Sanders and Jerry Rice and Aaron Rodgers and so forth exist. So that's one thing that made that easier. But two, it's because I do think as more, as we go through more of these years where you start to see guys like this getting paid, I feel like the younger generations of running backs are going to be like, well, this guy's only getting paid this much to be this back. Well, I want to be the guy that's getting paid that much. I want to be the do-it-all guy. I want to be the guy where you can, flex me out wide like a wide receiver, but then on the next down, you can put me right under an I formation and I can plow it in the end zone, jump over people, or even, take a toss and run to the outside and be able to, make a man miss in space. Like, I feel like that's where we're headed. And I'm not saying that there's, superstar running backs coming out next year in the draft. I haven't really looked because after the Rams got John Kelly, I can tell you I don't think the Rams are going to pick him back for a long time, especially now with the, extension. But I just think that's where it's going, Joe, and that's why I'm not saying Todd Gurley is replaceable, but he'd be more replaceable than Aaron Donald because you could still, I think Todd Gurley's the best running back in the league right now, but you could make the argument, 2 years ago, David Johnson was, 3 years ago, Le'Veon Bell, Ezekiel Elliott, his rookie year looked really good. Leonard Fournette could end up hitting that, and Saquon Barkley. So you can make arguments around the league of really talented backs, whereas Aaron Donald, there's the guy, right before him. When you get to Aaron Donald on that list, it's, Geno Smith, you talk about J.J. Watt if he gets healthy, but, I'm thinking really just Geno Smith and Fletcher Cox, and I guess Geno Smith is the closest thing to Donald, but he's not Donald. Donald's quickness, his overall athleticism, and I think just the fact that he works harder than just about anybody in the league, you really can't match that. And so, you could, I'm not saying you would be able to match Gurley like a carbon copy, but there are guys that do things just as good or close to as good, and with Donald, there's just no one like Aaron Donald.
All right. I think we hit that. Nice.
I think we did too. I think we spent a lot of time on two Rams that are hopefully going to be Rams for a long time. But I gotta say, before we talk about anything else, I'm pretty excited. Rams camp, I believe, is starting tomorrow or today. If you're listening to this on a Wednesday, I'm excited. I kind of bummed that Okoronkwo and Dom Easley are going to start camp on the PUP list. For those that do not know what the PUP is, it's physically unable to perform. But, I guess that's... I mean, it sucks, but, Dom Easley, if they knew he wasn't going to be able to play, if it was going to be a huge injury or anything for him to overcome, they wouldn't have re-signed him. So I have full confidence that he'll be back, and Okoronkwo, I think they're just being a little careful with him, not trying to rush him into anything. And then I do want to mention the stupid tweet topic. That's a new segment, by the way, so when I see that,
I like it.
I will throw that out there. There's actually two. I will say two. One, Robert Woods. The Rams should cut Robert Woods to save money. Yes, I wanted that to sound as dumb as it actually is. It is, Joe. I just don't get it. I mean, I get that people who don't watch the Rams and go on Spotrac are like, "Ooh, money! The Rams can save this," and then they go on Twitter and they hashtag Rams, and they're like, "Yeah, Rams fans are definitely going to follow me now," and whatever. And I get you're trying to apply to a different audience, cool and all, but that take is so bad. Josh Reynolds, had he absolutely emerged last year and turned into a superstar, that's the only way I could even entertain this as being serious. But Robert Woods is on the most. I think he's on the best deal for the amount of value that you're getting at that receiver position. When they signed him for $8 million annually, I said that was the market value, and he was 24 years old. Sammy Watkins, who had less, he had a lesser year than Woods, I would say. He got paid $8 million more per year. So if that tells you anything, and he's the number 2 receiver, Woods is, and you saw his ability. Obviously the Giants game, I know a lot of people remember that. I was there, and the 3rd and 33 play, where the screen pass and receiver screens on 3rd and 33 are basically let's just throw something at the wall, and if it sticks, it sticks. Robert Woods takes that to the house. He weaves in and out of traffic and shows his ability, run after the catch, and then you see him emerge in the playoffs and 150 plus yards because their number 1 receiver was basically non-existent in that game. Woods really comes through with a huge diving catch to bail out Goff, who overthrew him a little bit, and he had a couple great other catches. And then, and you talk about that's his first playoff game. And then another one, the fact that, the Woods was able to basically, I know people are like he ran a 4.5 at the combine. That's not a bad time. And I think you saw, against the Texans, the 97-yard touchdown. This guy is fast. So he does it all as a blocker. He's very intelligent, and McVay handpicked him out of this free agency class. So that's my take on that. And then really quickly, someone, I think it was Andy Benoit, he tweeted the thing about Todd Gurley. He said a couple of the executives he's talked to, or some people around the league, I forget exactly how he said it, but some people around the league liken Todd Gurley to Carlos Hyde, and some people think Carlos Hyde is better than Todd Gurley. So I thought that gave me a chuckle.
Well, that as a running back, it's just a pure runner, and it's like, who cares? Todd Gurley didn't get paid today because of what he does. Just as a pure runner, he got, like we just talked about, he got paid today because he's a pure runner, he's a pure receiver, he's a pure pass protector. He's certainly, so. Okay, great. That's kind of a trolling tweet, but the thing about Robert Woods that I think we spent way too much time on because the guy was their best receiver last year for the 14 games he played. So I don't know how, first of all, what's the point of saving money right now when you're entering camp and you've got your team already? The whole thing was you're just losing one of your top offensive players for no reason. Maybe going forward there might be some sort of crunch, but it's not going to be next year, and Woods, Woods is one of the better players on this team. You're not getting rid of your better players for no reason, and we learned over this offseason the Rams aren't going to get rid of their better players unless they can unless they can upgrade at that position. They're not going to let Tremaine Johnson go unless you can take Tremaine Johnson's money and grab Aqib Talib and Marcus Peters. So, you're not going to get rid of Rob Woods unless you bring in another better receiver. And the thing about Rob Woods right now, he's a leader. He's, a Southern California guy. He's connected and this is, and he's one of their better play. I would argue he's probably still a better all-around receiver than Brandon Cooks. They just paid Brandon Cooks all this money. but Brandon Cooks is going to play his role. Rob Woods is going to play his role, and I think we can debate after the season of who's the more productive receiver for this offense. But I think they're both needed.
They absolutely are, and they both complement Cooper Kupp and Josh Reynolds, and hopefully Gerald Everett or Tyler Higbee, or Tamarick Hemingway, Todd Gurley. I mean, this is all a collective unit. You can't just, money. Okay, but like, what are the Rams doing with the money if they even cut Robert Woods? Like that, just I don't understand that. Like,
yeah,
they're gonna spend that now and try
why?
to bribe Connor Barwin.
I mean, he's gone.
Yeah.
So they have their team. They've made their decisions. Their team is on the field, so to speak, and yeah. I didn't. I almost replied that I thought that line of talk was so dumb. I shouldn't call it dumb, but that line of thinking was so off base. I wrote a reply and then deleted it
because you just didn't want to waste your time.
Just wasn't worth the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you get people in your mentions.
Right.
On Downtown Rams, the Twitter, I just wrote a thing, and apparently everyone was like, "That's a thing," and then this guy was like, "Who did it?" And I don't even know, but no, I think if the Rams are going to sign anyone, just because I brought that up, it's going to be due to an injury, and I think it's Junior Galette who's probably on their speed dial. I think that's now with Connor Barwin gone, I think they were going to try to take advantage of Barwin in case anything went down in preseason. I think they would have probably used him and signed him, but now that he's gone, I think it would be Junior Galette. And that's only if there was like a injury to Longacre where he was out for the year, or an Ebukam, something that we just do not want to happen. But I could definitely see them signing Junior Galette if that were to be. And then, we're just going to wrap this thing up. But before we do, predicting the next Ram not named Aaron Donald to, receive the next contract extension, Joe. You talk about Marcus Peters. Obviously, he hasn't played a down yet, but neither did Brandon Cooks. Marcus Peters is, he comes by way of trade. One of the best corners. I think he's the best corner 25 and under. That's not named Jalen Ramsey. And then you have Jared Goff, who, Goff, I think, is the best I think he's the best quarterback in California right now. And then you have LaMarcus Joyner, who is actually going to hit free agency after the season, unless they tag him again. And then you have Michael Brockers, who I think people are forgetting his contract is soon to expire, and I think he's one of those players, one of those key fan favorites that you just, he's one of the core guys. Is there anybody else that I'm missing, or who would you basically say is going to be the next guy not named Aaron Donald to receive a contract extension from the Rams?
Yeah, I think Peters is the good call. I thought it was interesting you put Brockers in there. Maybe they, switch him up. I do think LaMarcus, is probably in his last year with the Rams, even though, I do really like him. And I think he's unique. It's just difficult to pay safeties big money, kind of like a running back or a linebacker. So we'll see what happens there. But I would say, of that group, certainly they want, at this point in time, Peters would have to play himself out of town, I think, or misbehave himself out of town. I think Peters is here to stay, and I think Brockers is interesting. And then obviously you get to Jared Goff. So, it's weird that all that business we talked for a year about, and they knocked out two of the big dominoes in about a week. And if they can get this Donald thing done, we might have the looks of this franchise for the medium to long term all set. And then obviously the big, actually, I got a good response to this. It's certainly not going to happen next, but I would like it to happen next.